I work every session, every hour. That was about the first 18 months. But how did I fund it? I had spent the previous 5 years basically collecting gym equipment and putting it into a storage unit. Even if the coaches weren't like up to speed 100%, it's not going to match what I was doing before, but it's going to be good enough, or the 80% or 90% of what we needed to continue to grow.
Hello, welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I am your host, running solo today, Mateo Lopez. I am in Boston for the Business for Unicorns biannual summit and meetup, where we're here to talk about how to make everyone in the gym world better. We've got a ton of business gym owners here, and I'm recording from the hotel room. If you're watching on YouTube, I apologize for the lighting. If you're listening on Spotify, it should be okay. The mic should work. And I'm here today with Ben Fogle of Epic Fitness Utah. I'm really excited to talk with Ben. We're going to cover a few things. One, he kicks ass with corporate wellness, something that we can never do when I have the gym. So want to learn more about that. Thing number two is been in the game for a while. And thing number three, he owns his own building. So we're going to get into all of that. We're going to break it down. It's going to be a mini episode, folks. We got to get to lunch. So let's get into it. Ben, how you doing?
Doing great.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your gym. Tell us about, where are we at in Utah? What's the size? And what's the basic model?
Yeah, so we're like many of the gyms in the Unicorn Society, we're a small private coaching facility. We're in about 4,300 square feet. We're in Mill Creek, Utah, small suburb of Salt Lake proper, Salt Lake City. And we've been in business going on 11 years in December. We just changed location just over 3 years ago. We bought a building, like you said, in 2021, June of 2021, during the pandemic.
Yeah. Interest rates were low, so that's pretty good.
We got low interest rates. We got locked in. So we do mainly semi-private training. We have a few classes options. We do provide corporate wellness to a couple partners of ours. One's an outside partner. We go to them. One's now going to be an inside partner. They come to us. And yeah, been doing the corporate wellness now for almost 7 years, consistently with our one client that's been a great client over the last 7 years. Nice. And this new one that we'll probably talk a little bit about is actually the city that we live in. It's their city employees.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. So how do we get in the game? How do we get started here? What happened? What happened to you?
Into fitness? Or
yes.
Yeah. Okay, great question. So I competed a lot in, high school, college athletics. I competed in track and field in college. I went on to, just miss Olympic trials through the javelin and the discus. Wow. Missed the Olympic trials in the javelin, had an elbow surgery from an old injury.
Oh, dang.
And then I had like a point where I had to make a decision on if I wanted to still compete in either track or another sport. I was graduating from college, long story short. I made a bet with another track friend of mine who was a decathlete to go do a combine in bobsled. This is 2003. I'm going to date myself now. So 2003 was my senior year in high school.
Okay.
And I went to this little combine basically for bobsled. It was a year after the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake. Funny, I never lived there before. I was a California kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Jim. Well, I'm also a California kid.
All right.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that. All right, keep going.
Yep. So I traveled down to Long Beach to do this combine with a buddy. Did well enough to get connected with the USA Bobsled Skeleton Federation. They invited me back to camps in the summertime. I did my internship I had to do for college, and then I literally moved to Lake Placid, New York, and made the national team my first year. I competed in world championships for a few years.
Wait a second. How do you go from javelin to bobsledding?
Great question. It was the decathlete coach of the college I went to. I went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo on the Central Coast. And he said, you know what? Your elbow's all jacked up, have the surgery, but you'd make a great bobsledder. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, what makes a great bobsledder?
So what makes a great bobsledder in a nutshell is power, strength, and speed. Short distances, 20 to 30 meter sprint. You jump in a sled, you hold on if you're a push athlete. If you're the driver, you got to have great hand-eye coordination. I never got into that. I just was a push athlete and did it for about 7.
I guess it makes sense. Like all the sleds we do on the turf, y'all, I guess you just have to be really good at that. And if you're really good at that, then you can be a bobsledder.
You can sprint with that fast, yes.
Great. Okay, so you made the national team. So you're a pretty competitive athlete then. So then after your athletic career, how did you get into gymming?
Yeah, it was kind of necessity. So I needed to find a part-time job.
Yeah. They don't pay you well, folks, when you're in the Olympics or on the national team.
Yeah,
so, okay.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
So that ended up being me finding a job in personal training because I was an exercise science major. I'm like, okay, I can probably train. I know I can train athletes. I don't know about Gen Pop, but I'll give it a try. Got a part-time job at a big box gym. That turned into basically during the Great Recession, I guess we call it. That period of time, I started my business, my training business, out of a bigger box. And then fast forward about 5 years, I was at this big box. They basically changed their rules and regulations for what an independent contractor, which I became at the time, could do, which one of the rules was I couldn't train more than 4 people at a time because it would interfere with their CrossFit offerings. So I said, I'm not going to sign this new stuff because I'm doing my thing per the contract I signed. And long story short, the boss told me to leave and get up and leave. And so he canceled everything became null and void at that point, which allowed me to go open my gym over the next 5 days.
Wow. How did you fund this first one?
Great question. So when I made the jump and had to kind of build my own gym, like on the fly, like literally build an airplane as it's flying, it was December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. And I was able to have a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a break, a couple of days. And then literally on the 27th, I signed a lease, moved in on the 29th, opened the gym like literally the week after I got kicked out of the gym I was working out of. But how did I fund it? I had spent the previous 5 years basically collecting gym equipment and putting it into a storage unit. So I knew I'm like someday
just finding some used stuff and just hoarding bits and pieces in a storage unit.
Hoarding equipment. And so that was
biding your time.
Yeah. Saving a lot of money from the personal training I was doing, knowing like I knew I was going to jump. I just didn't know when. And that created the best opportunities. I found the space really quickly. I was kind of already looking. I was saving up money for the equipment. I was saving equipment.
How did you convince the landlord? Who approved this? You know,
who
was like, you know what? This guy's got it. The storage unit guy, he's got it.
Oh my gosh. They needed me, man. This is 2013 when I signed a lease. It was like a boot camp. It was a boot camp that had failed in this space. And so like the flooring was already in there. Nice. It was already like a gym. And they were looking, the failed tenant was looking for a subtenant, which I later found out like, nope, the landlord wasn't accepting a subtenant. They were wanting to sign a new lease. So that's what we did.
Nice. Okay. And it was perfect from then on, right?
Yeah.
Nothing bad happened?
No, nothing at all. Yeah, great.
Okay.
Smooth sailing. No,
what were the first couple of years like?
Just me. And I did all the coaching. It was funny. I tell the story sometimes that I had a client that would only come in at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever time he came in. And then he came in one evening at 6 or 7 p.m. for a coaching session. And I was there. And he's like, hey, has been around? Like, you like his twin or something? I'm like, yeah, I'm his twin. My name's Dan, not Ben, or whatever. I made a joke, right? And I'm like, no, dude, I work every session, every hour. That was about the first 18 months. Then I made my first hire to an admin. And then I made my first hire a coach. I got 2 coaches. We grew pretty rapidly. We went from like, I pulled about 45 to 50 of our members at the big box up to 100 in the first about year and a half to 2 years almost, got to 100 members. And then it was 2015, almost year and a half of having the gym open. I got some pretty bad news. I had been having I was going to make a comeback in bobsled. So I was 34, 35. I was
actually going to go back in.
Yeah. So I was training for that, going to do another combine. I had to get a sport physical. And that sport physical, they found my liver enzymes were really high and elevated. And I'm like, well, I don't drink. They're like, you drink a lot? I'm like, no, I don't drink. Had to get referred to another doctor. They ended up doing a liver biopsy, couldn't find anything. A couple months later, they did it again, the liver biopsy. And in the liver biopsy, they found a really rare form of cancer.
Oh my gosh.
I got this call from the doctor. He's like, when they say, are you sitting down for this? It's like, well, I am now.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, I'm thinking back to it, man. And it was one of those things where my heart kind of stopped because I'm like, I wasn't expecting a cancer diagnosis. I was expecting like, okay, take this medicine, you'll get better or whatever. It was a very rare form of leukemia. It's called large granular lymphocytic leukemia, or LGLL. And it was infiltrating my liver and my spleen. It was both my liver and spleen were enlarged, like almost double the size at this time. And so what it turned into for me was like, I have to like take care of myself. And literally I put all the stuff onto my 2 coaches. One of them became from a part-time coach, really quickly became a full-time coach.
Full-time operating manager.
Yeah. So for the next year, just trying to figure it out. And anyways, long story short, I was 2 years on an oral chemotherapy, got on a good chemotherapy medication, and it brought everything down. Everything came back to normal. And I'm basically in remission now. For every 6 months with a blood cancer, they have to do checkups and stuff on blood work. And,
Oh my gosh.
but I'm really grateful because it'll be 15 to 24. I mean, it's going to be 9 years this October. I've been in remission pretty much, or 7 years, I guess, 9 years with the cancer diagnosis.
Well, thank goodness for that. That's very intense. I guess how did you even manage? Like, how did you balance the two? Like, I don't even know. I couldn't even comprehend being in that scenario.
Yeah, managing like having the gym and having cancer, and then having like I had a 1.5-year-old at the time.
Oh my God, that was a newborn. Okay, great.
I had almost a 2-year-old, and I had a kid that was
also like 2 under 2.
No, 2, and then sorry, I had a 4-year. It was 2012, 2015. I had a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old when it happened.
Oh my God.
So having that, managing the family, managing my diagnosis, going up about every month to the hospital to get blood work done and doing all the things. And then managing the gym, it was tough, man. Like I remember times when I'm like, I used to be able to do those 16-hour days, we always used to do, or it's like 6 a.m. till noon to 3 break, 3 to 7 or 8 or whatever time I left the gym. But I just had to pick one. I'm like, I just got to pick like a time when I feel my best. And it was usually in the mornings, and I would set sail in the afternoons and go get stuff done and other things done. And it actually helped me delegate more. It helped me realize that I didn't have to be there for everything. And it helped me realize that even if the coaches weren't like up to speed 100%, they still were like, it's not going to match what I was doing before, but it's going to be good enough, or the 80% or 90% of what we needed to continue to grow. It forced me to focus, to delegate, to manage and lead in a different way that I probably would have taken more time, like jumping from that big box gym. Right. It probably would have taken me a lot more time to actually make the jump into delegating more, actually like lessening my coaching load or whatever it was. And it forced me to like pull myself off the floor. It forced me to do those things. So it was really like a kind of a blessing in disguise, I guess, for the business standpoint. But I wouldn't never wish on anybody to go through that.
Like you can probably learn the lesson of SOPs are good and delegating is good without having to go through the cancer. But okay, wow. But yeah, it is, I guess, it was a forcing function in that you had to delegate and trust the people you delegated to could handle it.
100%.
All right, wow. It's going to be hard to pivot from that gym world, but I guess let's talk about your model some more. No, well, I guess my question is, I guess in that time, was it always semi-private, or was it did that change as like what was going on with your health change? Like, did the business at all have to adapt?
Yeah, not during that time. Before I moved, obviously, that was part of the issue with me going from the big box to the smaller, to my own spot, was training more than 4 people at a time. I taught classes. We trained up to 4 people at a time with semi-private, and it was an issue, right? It was competing with them, but I used to be a one-on-one trainer. We used to train one-on-one, and it's always the fun story of like, I double booked, so I have to like train you both together. Right. Like, come on, Mateo, let's go. And
you like working out with friends, right?
Yeah, but our model has always been semi-private since we opened our gym location. We've went from like, I think up to 3, now we're up to 4 at a time with one coach. We have close to 230 members that are in that model. We don't sell separate like classes or packages or anything like that. Classes are included, open gym or client-led access is included, but what really people pay for is that accountability of having the coach once, twice, 3, 4 days a week, whatever it is. And along with it, we'll talk about too is the corporate wellness accounts we have. Being able to serve more people outside of our gym was always one of our was always a goal, was always a mission we wanted to have. It's like, hey, like we could serve this really awesome community, this small, tight-knit community inside our gym, but how do we impact more people outside the gym that probably need our help the most? So
spoiler alert, Gym World, Ben makes over $10K a month in recurring revenue from these corporate wellness accounts. So let's talk about that. So how did that start? What was the first one? How do you, I guess, package and price? How do you sell it to them? How do you find one?
Yeah.
Let's break it down.
Okay. I'll start from the last question was like, how do we find our first account? It's usually like if you can scour your like line by line, your customer base, your current customer base. Yes, and I'm checking off who are the owners of companies, who are the managers of companies, who are your HR department people. Mm-hmm. And so I scoured and I found like HR people. I found obviously business owners of smaller companies and mid to large companies. This company happened to be like one of my best friends. Happened to be a client. He owned a medium-ish sized business, like 80 to 100 employees. They're a debt collection company. So all they do is sit all day and make phone calls. And they're not the most healthy individuals. They smoke on their smoke breaks. And he had just moved into a new building, built like this big, 5-car garage, 5,000 square feet, whatever. And I went over and visited him one time. I'm like, hey, Danny, like we could make half of this a gym and then maybe the other half your cars and boats and stuff could fit into. He's like, let me ask my business partner, because we need the space for our cars and our boats and our, we call it our toy castle, whatever. But they agreed. They're like, write a proposal. Like, what would this look like? Like, could you guys come out to us? And if we did, like, how much would the gym cost and the floor, like all the things? And I'm like, okay, I'll come up with everything. So what we did, we wrote a proposal to them, which was how often we would meet, based on what they said and feedback they got from their team, right? They surveyed their team, like, how much would you want to coach out here? How often would you want to get like a check-in from a coach? How often would you want to do a lunch and learn, that sort of thing? So it started out, became a yes, because we wrote a really good proposal, I think, where we go out twice a week for 2 45-minute classes twice a week during lunchtime. Their team goes out and does the classes twice a week. We have one coach that drives out there, about a 5-mile drive from our gym. Besides that, he does monthly, which now turned into quarterly lunch and learns, like in-body kind of wellness checks. We'll do waist and hip measurements. We'll do other things. But the in-bodies is the main thing. We'll do challenges that are done seasonally based on the time of season, New Year's challenges, spring, summer, fall challenges. We were in charge of all that, right? Like putting all the flyers together, putting all the signups together, making sure that the emails were set up in a way where their team got notified of everything going on. Management could layer it down to their team and do all that. We came up with the whole gym concept. Like, what would this look like? Like, what do we actually need? What are our wants and our needs, and what are their needs? We put the basics down, right? Like your dumbbells, your kettlebells, your med balls, your TRXs. Like that was bare bones what it was. And then the client was like, well, actually,
we want this thing.
We want like a power rack. We want a power rack, at least one, right? Yeah. We want 2 treadmills that are like badass treadmills, right? Like, well, that's not really in the budget. Well, now it is, because they want it, right? So we did all the ordering. We installed it. We delivered it. I got flooring from it was a CrossFit gym that went out of business, but I got flooring for really cheap, laid it out there. And so like bare bones, it was like minus like the other stuff they really wanted, like the power rack and the 2 treadmills. It was maybe like 10 grand for them, 15 grand maximum. But the business owner was like, this is a great deal. Right. So we kind of wanted to make it as simple as possible for them to make it work for them. And they have about 80 employees, almost 100 employees, and about half of them use it. So that was kind of the goal.
Hey, gym owners, are you looking for a way to generate more leads, close more sales, and increase client retention? Introducing Kilo. We are a software company that gives gym owners the tools they need to increase revenue and run a successful gym. With Kilo, you get a beautifully designed website to capture more leads, an integrated marketing automation platform to increase sales, and our gym management software, so you can add new client memberships, process payments, and organize your class schedule. If you're ready to upgrade your gym management software, book a call at usekilo.com. So let's a couple follow-ups here. Yeah. A couple nuggets first. So I think one thing I'm hearing is you got to get the proposal right, and the way to do that is to ask them what they want and ask how to make it the easiest thing possible for them to implement, install, and get going.
And one of the best questions that I didn't ask at first is like, tell me what your budget for something like this is. Yeah. Like, what's your budget for HR, for finance to do something like this? Because based on their budget, you can create a plan that's, more or less robust.
How big is this business? Like, how many employees do they have?
They have close to 100.
Oh, so almost all of them are involved in the program.
About 50%.
Oh, 50%. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Yep. Sorry. All right, so about 100. So, I guess what is the size of business? If someone's trying to think about doing this, what size of business do they need to kind of like think about?
It seems like it's going to be a smaller to medium-sized business. I would say like between 30 to 100 employees is who we've targeted and had really good success. We had another company we did wellness with for about 1.5 years. And that one worked well because it was only about 35 employees, but they were fully engaged. Like almost all of them would come to us because their office was like less than a mile from our gym. Proximity is really important if they're going to come to you. And then also if you are going to go to them, obviously they need a little bit of a setup if you're going to do personal training over there.
So for that first one, you gave them a quote for the install and the equipment and things they would need. They came back like, well, we want some more stuff. So that's fine. They were willing to pay for it. And then what do they pay and how does it work? Like, do they pay more if more of their employees use it? Is it per head? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a straight monthly fee that we discuss annually on adjusting based on the usage, but it doesn't change like during the year, and it's a set fee annual contract that way. Really, what we base it off of is our team's time and how much we have to pay them, and then what we want to obviously carry over for the business to make a profit and stuff.
And I know you mentioned it briefly, but you're responsible for fulfilling, I guess, how many classes over there?
Yeah.
And then you were doing some in-body stuff, right?
It's 4 classes a week, so it's about 4 hours ish, including drive time of the coach's time per week. They used to be monthly, now they're quarterly, and that is how we drop all of our ones now. It's like every 3 months is pretty good to do an in-body, not monthly. And every 3 months is pretty good. It's really good actually for our lunch and learns or our wellness seminars.
And you're just having that one class a day, really? Because or
2 per day, twice a week. So it's like 12:15 to 1, 1:15 to 2.
Gotcha.
And then, yeah.
And they're like basically doing it on their lunch break or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Which is dead time for you guys anyway, or at least in my experience, that was for the CrossFit gyms. Like we had a noon, but like 1 p.m., 2 p.m., like it's dead time for us. So that's pretty great that you're now able to generate some revenue during that time.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the you going to them.
Yep.
How does it work if they're coming to you, especially if you already have your own clients coming to you? How do you fit them in? How do you find them? How does that work?
Great question. Yeah, so we actually just got this new contract from our city. So Mill Creek City has agreed to a corporate wellness agreement with us where they come to us. And the way this looks is the way we wrote it up in the proposal, which they really liked, is having a private class just for them only. So it's like a team building deal. It's twice a week for just a 45-minute class, twice a week, Monday, Wednesdays, 12:15 to 1. Another coach is taking that on. We close from 12 to 2 in our gym. So it's going to be perfect where we can monetize that hour. They'll also get, so this was pretty valuable thing for them as an add-on. They have access to all of our public classes.
Okay.
We only have several classes a week, but they'll have access to book on our branded app where they can book a class, see that they're coming to Epic Fitness at this time, and it gives them extra exposure if they couldn't make the noon class on those other days. We want them to come to the other classes. It also, like I said, the quarterly wellness workshops, the quarterly in-bodies and health screenings, we're doing that quarterly, and I've hired kind of one of my staff to take this on and just pay her like a salary for it, monthly salary.
Yeah, I guess for that person, what does it look like in terms of, I know you have the in-bodies. Are you doing client nurture? Like, are you doing like your normal 90-day new client journey stuff with them, or is it tailored? Are you giving them newsletters? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. We it wasn't part of our proposal, and what we've done with the outside client that we go to, we were doing a lot of client nurture, like texting after workouts or like, birthday messages and all that stuff. And I'm pretty certain like our coach still does that sort of stuff because it's a smaller group, 40 to 50 people. With this one, with Mill Creek City coming to us, it could be up to 100 employees. We're working really closely with the HR department. They're going to have certain initiatives that they want to continue to do and scale. Like it could be like a walking club or like a count your steps deal. And like, we're just reminding them in the sessions, like, hey, have you been counting your steps or whatever the thing is? But we're not responsible for like nurturing them like we would a true member. But our goal is obviously like so the biggest things we do report back to both these companies, the city and then this other company, is we do monthly attendance. Mm-hmm. That's really important. Like attendance is supreme to like make sure that they know it's being well utilized. Attendance, not only the classes, the lunch and learns, the inbox, like all that stuff, they get all of that data on a monthly basis.
Right. So that was my next question is what is the work you're doing to ensure they renew every year? Yeah. They renew that contract.
Yep. Yeah. We show them on a monthly basis how high the utilization rate is, because if they're not attending, if it's not being like, if they're not really utilizing it, then it's not worth it for the company paying that much money. The other things we track with the first client we were talking about, where we go to them, is we track their healthcare costs. And we actually want to know like how much money on an annual basis are you saving based on these people taking these different habits. It could be sick days, absenteeism, that sort of thing. And we get reports back from their team. We ask for it every 3 months of like, tell us like what this has been tracking for you guys. And usually it's like, I think last year when the owner sent me the report, they saved like close to 50 grand or whatever in just health insurance alone.
Wow.
Because their health insurance goes down when there's not as many people going to the doctor.
To the doctor, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if people are getting sick less or getting hurt less, that brings all their healthcare costs down. And that's huge. That's a really big benefit. And we kind of glossed over it, but how much are these contracts worth to you?
The initial one that we've got with the company where we go to them, that one is close to, it's an annual agreement. So it's right around 62,000 a year. And then the one with the city is right around the same amount. Like we pretty much priced it very similarly, even though
we're not a little bit different.
Yeah, we're not doing the same amount of private classes, but we're offering them like a lot more as far as access to us with the public classes. So we price it pretty similarly. And again, we asked the question, what's your budget for something like this? They had to go with their finance director through the city and figure it out. But once we knew kind of an idea, like what the upper end was, we went to that upper end and we're like, what can we offer that's going to hit that upper end and show enough value that they'll actually, want to do that and see that it's actually a really good deal for not only the whole city, but also for their employees to want to utilize.
Right. And I guess we're running out of time, folks. We have to keep this a mini episode, but what is your capacity for something like this? Like how many contracts can you take on before the wheels start to fall off?
Yeah. Great question. I think we could probably do one or two more of these with our current employees and such. But if I could hire one other coach that could be maybe primarily doing corporate wellness, that was a full-time role, right, I think we could get cities, municipalities that are close to us within reach, 3 to 5 mile radius. There's a lot of little cities and whatnot that are close to us. I feel like it could be a real win-win for the cities, but I think we could probably do 2 or 3 more. And that's just hiring one other coach, which we could do under this model.
So this is only one piece of how Ben makes money. He also has a very, successful in-house gym. So successful, in fact, that you were recently able to buy the building that your new location is in. I guess, how did we get to the point where we had enough cash reserves where you could make this move? Like, what were the changes in your business from the time, I guess, maybe after you started to recover from the cancer? Like, what did you change in your business to get to that point?
Yeah. Well, it was 2020 happened, right? So
yeah,
we were all shut down for a minute.
Resetting. Yeah. How did we reset from there?
Yeah. I could say one thing. It's like save everything you can. So we just saved a ton. We utilized, obviously, COVID was a weird time. We took advantage of all the things like all the businesses did with PPP and everything else to continue to pay our employees and not lose any employees. But it helped us save. It just helped us save a lot of money during those 18 months to 2 years almost. Mm-hmm. That turned into like this little bit of a nest egg when we're like, can we put 10% down on a building, do an SBA kind of loan? And we're like, yeah, we actually can. And can we borrow this other amount? And are we credit worthy? And all the things we've been working on the last decade by this business, it's like, you got to be credit worthy. You got to be able to like go to a bank and have a relationship. I think is one of the best things we did is like have a previous relationship with a current bank that was already giving us like a business line of credit, mm-hmm, that they're like, we'll do your loan. Like, and we trust you because we've had this relationship for the last several years with a business line of credit. Something as small as that, but them knowing that like we've utilized that in a good way for the business. I mean, that was super helpful too.
Interesting. So yeah, having an existing relationship with a bank, open up a line of credit, maybe for some equipment, maybe for whatever it was, as long as you pay it back on time. Yeah, that they're happy about that. And now you go back to them when you're ready for the big thing. So that's pretty sweet. And I guess any other quick little, we've talked about doing some SBA stuff before on the show, but any other kind of little nuggets from your experience going through the SBA, getting that loan and collecting the rest of the financing for the down payment?
Yeah, what I would say is what I didn't realize was how imperative it is to make sure you structure that SBA loan in a way where if you have any construction work to do, like ours was all inside the building, make sure that that's drawn up in the loan and you get all your, the quotes and things to match kind of what you're going to do to the building, because it's going to go from a, starting status of like it being valued at a certain X amount of dollars. And then when you're done with it, how much it's going to be worth. And you got to get those estimates of those appraisals done, because if I wanted to have an extra, say $150,000 for HVAC, plumbing, electrical, like all these updates that we ended up doing, I needed to prove that the building and it would be worth this much more based off of that.
Oh, interesting.
And so we were able to bundle, not in the loan, that construction piece, and then pay our contractors through that loan, which saved us a ton of money because it was, low interest rate at the time. And I recommend for any kind of, like, if you're buying a building, it needs work done to it, make sure there's ways to do it. Make sure you bundle that construction loan as a part of that material loan.
It's a hot tip for you gym owners. If you're thinking about buying your building, try and bundle some stuff together, save a little bit extra money. We're going to have to wrap it up there. We're going to have Ben back on, I think. We want to talk more about, the other side of the business, what he's doing inside that's kicking ass with the semi-private stuff. We didn't talk about his avatar. We didn't talk about his niche. We didn't talk about
Let's do it.
Client acquisition, really. We didn't talk about marketing. We didn't do any of that, but we learned a little bit about corporate wellness, which I think is really cool. And we'll just have Ben on next time. Put in the comment section what you want to hear from Ben next time we have him on. And then, Ben, where can people find you if they want to talk to you or learn more about your gym or your bobsledding career?
Yeah. You can always hit me up. It's just epicfitnessutah.com. Email's ben@epicfitnessutah.com. You'll see a really very nice, well-developed website.
There you go.
For GLM.
A tasteful plug.
Yeah.
Kilo, there you go.
Epic Fitness Utah on Instagram or Facebook. And those are all the places.
And if you want to hear more from us, Gym World, hit that like and subscribe button so that way you're reminded next time we publish an episode. And that's how we'll hold you accountable, right? To tuning in and getting your Gym World knowledge. With that, we'll sign off. We love you, Gym World. Bye-bye.